Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would just relax, work on my little arts and crafts here, and I will make a video soon. A few people keep asking me things about why I do these videos like this. A lot of people enjoy them, a few people don't. I'll cover that later, probably worthy of its own video. It was partially from advice I got from a PR expert. Now, that being said, I'm going to work on this a little bit today and talk to you guys about something, because I got asked two different questions in the last day about pro bodybuilding. And interesting questions, and I'm going to try to answer those. And of course, I'm going to flip them through here. And one of them is talking about BPAK, of, well, you know, if he knows so much, and why does he have such a nude physique or a shitty physique compared to other IFBB pros? And then someone asked me who's going to win the Mr. O this year. And what I have to say might upset some people, but you know what? I'm used to upsetting people. Might as well just speak the truth then and not worry about who you upset. Alright, first of all, these are kind of really the same question in a way. To the outside world, people who aren't involved in serious bodybuilding, and something lost on a lot of the YouTube fitness audience and people who follow this stuff, because there's a lot of fitness channels who want to talk about bodybuilding as if it's part of fitness in some way, when it's not. It's not even remotely related to fitness. Competitive bodybuilding isn't. It shouldn't even be used in the same sentence other than to say bodybuilding is the opposite of fitness. So, why does he look different? I don't know. I can't tell them apart. And the majority of people who just work out to be fit, the general population and everyone else, couldn't tell you that they look any different. You put BPAK next to, who are some of the current guys? Kai Green, Phil Heath, Branch Warren. That's the only three pro bodybuilders I can think of off the top of my head, who I know the names of, who are currently like serious competitors. But you put them next to each other and ask them who looks better. Average person going to be like, they all look freakish, they all look like shit, they all look scary, they look like monsters. And you might even get a woman who said, I think I just threw up in my mouth. Nobody finds them impressive, attractive, or aesthetic outside of the cult that follows bodybuilding. No one else actually appreciates it in any way. They don't care for it, they don't like it. Everyone who looks at it knows it's not fit, they know it's not healthy, and they know it looks grotesque. Women generally wouldn't want to have sex with someone who looks like a pro bodybuilder. The majority wouldn't. It's not sexually attractive to anyone other than gay men with a muscle fetish, or people in general with a muscle fetish. And nobody can really tell them apart. Like when I look at these people, you guys ask me, who looks better, Kai Green or Phil Heath? I don't know. What are we basing this on? Facial aesthetics? Because their bodies look hideous by any standards. You can't tell them apart. It's not like there's some big difference, like their bodies look dramatically different or something. They really don't. And people will say, well, you just don't understand bodybuilding. Well, no one outside of bodybuilding understands bodybuilding. I'm not in it. Nobody can even figure out objectively what the judging criteria are. It seems like even bodybuilders argue, fans of it argue, this guy got robbed, he should have won, when they all look the same. What are you basing it on? And why is it that the fans have a different viewpoint than the judges do? The judges don't even release their judging criteria. They can't even explain to you how they judge these endeavors. They're all politics. I mean, if you look at some of the stuff they talk about, proportion and symmetry and aesthetics and muscularity, you're telling me there's any difference between them, and you're telling me that any of them look aesthetic in any way? Or that any of them aren't absurdly, disgustingly muscular? I mean, is there really a difference? Can you tell them apart? It's just insanely subjective. There's no, like, objective difference between them that anyone outside of that little world could even see. They look the same. They all look massive. They all look emaciated with no body fat, and they all look hideous and unhealthy. They all look bloated. Every one of them, it seems like they just go for the same physique too. They all have the same giant roid gut. They all try to get the same proportions and size, because as soon as they get a muscle that isn't in proportion with everyone else, they all start using tons of site enhancement. They inject synthol, they inject individual steroids, collagen, everything else into every muscle that's not up to par like everyone else. So it's like they all just go out of their way to make sure they all look the same. There's no like actual real natural proportion there. They just play catch up on whatever proportions are lagging behind anybody else with site enhancement. So really, they're all just trying to look the same. And so when people ask these questions like that, I don't know. What are you supposed to base it on? Who's politically the most popular with the supplement companies right now? Who's getting the most money from supplement companies? Well, that's who's going to win, because it's just politics. I mean, bodybuilding itself wouldn't exist outside of the supplement industry. That's the entire creator of it. That's the entire financial backer of it. It wouldn't even exist, and no one would even know what it is if it wasn't for these companies. They're completely responsible for it. Therefore, they're completely responsible for picking who wins, because there is no objective criteria. But yeah, people need to understand, when you ask people like me or anyone else who's not part of the bodybuilding world to be objective, to ask them who's going to win, or why does this guy look better than another? Why does this guy look like shit? And you're like, none of them look better than the other. They all look terrible. What are you talking about? Like, I wouldn't, I'm not going to say that, but I can't imagine anybody really wanting to look like that, to work. That is their goal, to actually look like that. Like, what's the point? You know, it's one thing to say, well, someone just ends up somewhere. Okay, fine. But these guys are actively working at this and injecting tens of thousands of dollars of drugs into their body every day, structuring their entire life, all their training regimens, their food, everything around looking this way. Why? And none of them look better or worse than the others. So this whole, why does this guy look like shit compared to him? Why does this guy look like a noob compared to these guys? What are you talking about? They all look the same. The only people who think that they don't are the very serious, hardcore followers and fans of it. And those fans need to realize these little fights are a storm in a teacup. Nobody outside of that world knows who Kai Green is. Okay? Nobody knows, nobody cares outside of the tiny little bodybuilding world. It's a niche community. And nobody can tell them apart. They all look the same. And again, if it wasn't for the supplement company sponsoring them up and putting them on every single ad and everything else, nobody'd even know who any of these people are in the workout world and fitness world either. No one would know, no one would care. So as soon as we get rid of these corrupt supplement companies that do nothing but sell garbage and worthless products and rip people off, then that'll be the end of bodybuilding too. It'll go away. It will have no existence outside of the supplement companies backing and promoting it. And it's just a very naive group of young men who get sucked into it by the supplement industries to perpetuate it because of the starting work of Joe Weider. And if we do away or put any restrictions on these supplement companies to stop scamming people, that's it. Bodybuilding will be gone. That'll be the end of it. No one will care about it again. So when people ask, why does this guy look like shit compared to another, they all look like shit. What are you talking about? It's a freak show. It's a horrific freak show that nobody in their sane mind would get involved with or be a fan of. If you're actually a fan of it, and I've got friends who are fans of it, but they know they're fucking crazy. They accept they're fucking crazy. It just is what it is. If you're a fan of this and follow it, you're fucking nuts. And that's your right. I mean, that's cool. You can be nuts and be a good person still, but it's fucking insane. And anybody else outside of the community understands that. You know, but it is what it is. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.